Since 2000, Mix 104.1 has been the home of the Atlanta Braves, and we're celebrating by giving away tickets to Atlanta Braves games all summer long. Listen for your chance to call or text to qualify. You can also register at the Mix socials on Facebook and Instagram. Braves 25 is presented by Cleveland Ford. Honest people, honest deals. You're listening to Paul Feinbaum on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. The ESPN Cleveland 101.3 lineup is supplied by Wholesale Supply Group. WholesaleSupply.us.
Camping in the Cherokee Forest, rafting the Ocoee, hang glide off Lookout. Summer's here, and Honda Cleveland has the Honda to take you on your next great adventure. Save $5,000 off on your choice of 25 Accord or CRV Hybrid. $5,000 off. Or you can choose 2.99% financing. Either way, you'll see why KBB.com has named Honda America's best value brand. You can saddle up a new Ridgeline pickup too, with financing as low as 0.99% for 60 months. That'll save you hundreds in financing. And if you need service, parts, or tires, Honda Cleveland can help. Get the work completed now just in time for summer adventures and pay over time with up to 3 months interest-free with no hard credit check and a 90% approval rate. It's easy, convenient, and stress-free. Summer's here, and we're your ticket to ride. Honda Cleveland, your car, your way, every day. I-75 exit 20, 1 mile east. Hope to see you soon.
Duracell in Cleveland is now hiring mechanical skilled technicians from $22 to $27 per hour. Excellent benefits beginning day one. Medical, dental, and vision insurance. Paid vacation, holiday pay, 401k tuition reimbursement, and more. Apply at Duracell.com.
Hey, Andy Morris here. Join me along with my co-host on The Drive, presented by Hardees, weekdays at 5 p.m. on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Cleveland and Bradley County's local sports show, weekdays at 5 on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
From the Kia of Cleveland Studios, this is ESPN Cleveland 101.3, WCLE HD2 Cleveland, W267BI Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
The top of the hour is presented by Best Buy Metals, making the top of your house the best it can be. Visit bestbuymetalroofing.com.
It's time for The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Hardees. We will bring you nonstop sports news from the national and local scene and everything in between. So buckle up and join in on the conversation. It's The Drive.
Don't take no slide. Got a thirst for killing. Think about it.
Welcome back to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Excited to be here. I'm Andy Morris along with Jacob Mason, Slim Money Mason as they like to call him. I say they and I'm referring to myself. Jim Gum, like to call that guy Dad Gum. And listen, Dad Gum's had a big week for us. He's lined up some great guests. That's going to continue today with Chris Lowe, senior writer for ESPN, going to be joining us around 5:15. So definitely stay locked in, stay tuned for that. And, of course, yesterday, if you missed it, it's posted on our social media page, ESPN Cleveland 101.3, and also on our mixtv.tv on YouTube. ESPN Cleveland on YouTube. Check it all out. But Rich Clark, the executive director of the College Football Playoff, was on the show yesterday and talk about a fun interview. A guy who's in the military world, been to the Apex, lieutenant general. Yep. He was pretty much running the Air Force Academy for the past several years, and now is the executive director of the College Football Playoff. So got to pick his brain not only about the College Football Playoff, obviously we're all big fans of that, but just about his journey and how he got to where he is in his career. And that was a big time treat for us.
Yeah, my brother, he actually texted me and he said that was a great interview. Now, honestly, I got to give it up to Jacob here. His last question today was inspiring to Rich, and then I followed it with a stupid question. The Air Force Thunderbirds or the Navy Blue Angels?
No, I don't listen.
Like he's gonna choose the Blue Angels.
I'll say this: I don't think it was a stupid question.
Yes, it was.
I think it. Is this not a fun show?
Is this not? Are we not allowed to have fun?
Yeah,
here?
This is a fun show. We do that kind of stuff here. So
no, I think it was a personal question. I think it was. It was a solid hit. It ended the show with a laugh. We got to hear. Honest to goodness, if you haven't heard it, like it made me ready to go run run through a wall. Like, it was just really inspiring, all the things that he was saying. You can tell that he's a natural-born leader and that he's led well everywhere that he's been. And then Jim got to leave us with a laugh. You know, he was dying laughing because that's not even a question. It's not even, are you kidding me, man? So that was such a fun interview.
Yeah, and that's one thing we hope to be able to have him on in the future. Definitely seemed like he was open to doing so. So we're excited to listen. Here at the Drive, we're doing stuff big time. Apparently, right? So not only were we a fun show, we're a big time show.
Right, and fun is the number one thing we believe. Amongst us three, we believe that sports should be fun. It's a way to escape. Listen, a lot of people out there working an 8-hour day, they're tired, and they just want to talk and have a little fun and listen to sports and stuff like that. So we try to make it entertaining. And we feel like if we're not smiling, we're not doing a good job. We're sitting here, we laugh, because sports is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a way to escape the reality for an hour.
Well, I can tell you one thing. My wife's happy that I have y'all to talk to about it now, because I used to drive her nuts with it, and she's like, that's a good little outlet for you. You know, you get to get all that out. And then I was like, basically what you're saying is you don't want to have to listen to it, and I get to go do it on the radio.
This is where we come to vent our sports frustrations, which we're going to talk about the Atlanta Braves a little bit later on in the show.
You want to talk about vent? I got cut off by an Auburn fan yesterday and legitimately got mad. And you know what the first thing that popped in my head was? Is if Hugh Freeze's defense was as aggressive as you're driving, he might not be on the hot seat right now.
That's it.
Have you heard about all the golf that he's playing?
Oh, yeah.
They've got people. It could because he's trying to track his handicap and set a handicap. He's logging it on the PGA, whatever.
Right.
And Auburn fans are not happy because
he's pulling a Brian Kelly down there at LSU, huh?
Well, he's losing all these recruits, and then he's showing everybody that he's on the golf course all day long. So it's funny. You know, I'm ready for college football to be back, and that was like a moment that I'm like, yeah, I really am. Like, 4th of July is over. I just got cut off by an Auburn fan, and I'm ready for us to go play them down there. So let's do it.
And we're going to keep that going again today, 5:15. Chris Lowe, senior writer of ESPN, big ESPN senior writer, going to join the show. And excited about that as we get closer, as you said, Jacob, to college football season. Like I was joking around when we walked out of the studio yesterday, went outside in the parking lot. I guess from some heavy winds, maybe a little one of those pop up storms. There were some leaves on the parking lot. I said,
That's
man,
right.
I said this. I'm looking. I'm like, you know, I'm a summertime guy. Love the summertime. I was like, kind of ready for the fall. Kind of ready for some college football, and it helps when you're a big-time Braves fan and they're not playing really good.
And, you know, when we come in here next Monday, the SEC Football Media Days will be taking place, you know, down in Atlanta. So we'll have a lot of information coming out of Atlanta on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. And we'll be able to rehash whatever's going on down there. And so we're looking forward to that. And then the week after that, you got the Big Ten is having their media days. And then football season, high school football season is going to be upon us, guys, in a month.
Yes.
You know, maybe just a little more than a month, but not much more than that.
Yeah, and speaking of the media days, Big 12 media days currently, are they wrapping today?
I think so.
Yeah, I believe that. That's so. One thing I did, I kind of dove into that last night because you brought it up yesterday, Jacob. I listened to Rich Rodriguez talk about a guy that obviously we know he can recruit. He's done it his first go around at West Virginia, when he's at Arizona, he recruits good players.
Yeah, Pat White, I remember that.
Him and Greg, who was the running back? Was it Slayton?
Slayton, yeah, Steve Slayton.
Steve Slayton. And he had some good teams, and it's one of those scenarios where ultimately I think he regrets leaving because he went for that Michigan job, recruited well at Michigan, and obviously things just didn't work out. The product wasn't quite the same. But had he have been able to go back and do things different, just like we talk about Nick Saban. Yeah, Scott Frost. Nick Saban says he never should have left LSU. What could have been is kind of crazy. So seeing him get another go-around and just listening to what he had to say about his approach, like, listen, we got some good players in the building, but we know it's going to be a process. We got to continue to build and continue to recruit. We know we can do that. It was fun to listen to old Rich Rod. Kind of sounds like he's relevant again, and excited to have that. And Of course, Deion Sanders, Big 12 Media Days, for those of you with all the conference realignment, Colorado, Big 12 team. And he talked about some exciting things, about the schedule, about some potential salary cap stuff that he thinks needs to be in place in college athletics. Those are some things we're going to talk to Chris Lowe about when he comes on today.
Yeah. You know what's so funny, and I don't know why it just popped in my head. I'm going to ask both y'all this question. You talk about, Nick Saban, had he never left LSU. Had he never left LSU, does LSU turn into what Alabama eventually became?
Probably.
You think he wins as many national championships there? I think think the possibility is very, very high.
I think so. LSU spins. You've got great history, great athletics. Now they spin. They didn't before. If you ever watched the interview with Nick Saban, he didn't want to be seen going down to LSU because he was at Michigan State.
Right.
So he sent Miss Terry.
I remember that.
And so Miss Terry,
he actually denied that he was looking around.
Yeah, and so Miss Terry went down there, and
which, for those of you that don't know, Miss Terry is Nick Saban's wife.
Yeah, and so she toured the facilities and stuff, and she said it needs a little work, but I think this would be a good spot for us. And then he got there and he started looking around, and he was like, needs a little work. Like he was taken back. So they started spending in the Nick Saban era and started updating facilities and stuff like that. I do. I mean,
he won one national championship there.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all
that
the
was
people.
the 04 title, correct?
03 or 04, I'd have to look it up.
And was that the year that it was a split national title between them and USC?
That's right.
Yeah.
That might be one of my favorite clips of him chewing somebody's tail. Him and Muschamp side by side.
Will Muschamp.
Are just absolutely losing their mind. But yeah, I think they do. What do you think, Andy?
I don't know if. I think the Alabama brand, to say that it would have been the same is kind of a slight to Alabama. The brand of Alabama is so big, the history, the tradition, and obviously as a Notre Dame fan, I think that stuff's important. Jim, you as an Ohio State fan, I presume you think it's important.
Listen, I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think Alabama is the greatest college football program of all time.
Yes.
I think they are number one.
Because before Nick Saban, who would you have said is the greatest college football coach of all time? Bear Bryant.
Bear Bryant, yeah. They're at Alabama. So, and this is coming from someone that I'm not at Alabama of lover, but reality is reality. They've won more championships than anyone else. They have dominated the Southeastern Conference.
Got a few Heisman Trophy winners.
And they're all recent, Yeah. But I just think that that Alabama brand and with Nick Saban was like the perfect storm.
Exactly.
I think he would have won. I'm not going to say I know LSU would have won more national championships than they ended up with without him. I don't know if he would have hit the number of national championships at LSU that he ended up with at Alabama. I don't know what it is about that program, man, but they just seem to be – they're killing in recruiting here lately. Have you seen what they've been doing the last week and a half?
Yeah.
It's that – you're right, that brand – it
carries.
Special,
it carries for sure. And so we've talked about hot seats. We've talked about the Big 12. We've talked about Nick Saban. A lot of these things kind of wrap me back into this thought right here. I saw an interview of Mike Gundy. So you want to talk about someone who I think is kind of on the hot seat.
He's a character, though.
Yeah.
Do you know he was quoted saying that they thought that the NIL and like transfer portal and stuff would just go away, so they've never really been spenders. And so this first offseason, the portal was the first time that they've bought. Like they've bought players.
Went into it.
And to me, that shows a sign of he kind of knows that like he's got to start making adjustments.
Change with the times.
Yeah. Dabo was a little bit late to the party too.
Well, really Dabo's kind of stuck with his guns about all this. I think, honest to goodness, if there's anybody that's been very firm and very strong about this and is going to get out of the weeds kind of unscathed, I think it's going to be Dabo Swinney. Like I think he's going to come out on the other side looking clean after all these people that gave him such a hard time about not spending. Once the regulations and stuff come into play, I think he's going to have stood on business basically and kept his point the same and going to be okay.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to carry on this conversation with Chris Lowe when we come back from this break. Chris Lowe, senior writer for ESPN. Excited to have him on at the 5:15 time slot. You're listening to ESPN Cleveland 101.3 right here, part of WCLE Network. But let me tell you, you can also download the ESPN app.
That's right. The exclusive home for ESPN Radio in Cleveland and Chattanooga, I love to include Chattanooga, is ESPN Cleveland 101.3. It's never been easier to listen. Download the free ESPN Cleveland 101.3 app from our website. Go to ESPNCleveland1013.com, and it's easy. Listen, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
We'll be right back here on The Drive.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
Hardees is hiring. Join the Star Team. Flexible scheduling, daily pay, free meals, 20% family discount, plus paid vacation for part-time and full-time employees. Apply in-store or online at hardees.com today.
Hip or knee pain holding you back? There's a new reason to feel hopeful. Dr. Andrew Carlone is now part of the team at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics in Cleveland. He brings advanced training in total hip and knee replacement, including minimally invasive techniques that get you back on your feet faster. Let Cleveland's orthopedic experts help you live your best life. Call 423-624-2696 or go to sportmed.com to book your visit now.
Don't miss the Paul Feinbaum Show, weekday afternoons from 2 until 5 on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Always topical, always entertaining. Paul Feinbaum on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Hardees. ESPN Cleveland 101.3 is powered by Duracell. For a quarter of a century, Mix 104.1 has been taking you out to the ball game.
Swanson to first.
Since 2000, Mix 104.1 has been the home of the Atlanta Braves, and we're celebrating by giving away tickets to Atlanta Braves games all summer long. Listen for your chance to call or text to qualify. You can also register at the Mix socials on Facebook and Instagram. Braves 25 is presented by Cleveland Ford. Honest people, honest deals.
Make sure your vehicle is winter ready with a visit to Cleveland Tire Center, providing full-service auto care, including oil changes and brake service, plus a lot more. Cleveland Tire Center, North Lee Highway, Cleveland, where the name says it all.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
You are listening to The Drive, and a real quick shout out to Duracell right here in Cleveland. Duracell is now hiring mechanical skilled technicians from $22 an hour to $27 an hour. Excellent benefits beginning on day one: medical, dental, vision insurance, paid vacation, holiday pay, 401k, tuition reimbursement, and more. Apply now at Duracell.com. That's Duracell.com. Excited now. I believe we've got Chris Lowe on the line, senior writer for ESPN. Chris, are you there?
Yes, I am.
First of all, thank you so much for joining the show. We're really excited to have you on today, and we know you've got a busy schedule, so to take time for us is definitely something that we're really glad to have you do. And listen, a lot going on in college football right now. We've got Big 12 Media Days happening coming up. We just mentioned SEC and Big 10 Media Days just across the horizon, and a lot of stuff, a lot of clickbait out there. But as far as your world right now, what you're writing about, if you could just kind of let our listeners know kind of what the top stories are right now.
Well, obviously next week it's SEC, with the media days in Atlanta. Monday, you kick it off with LSU, Ole Miss, Vandy, and South Carolina. And it'd be pretty cool to talk to. I think probably as much upside as any quarterback in the league is Lenore Sellers, and he's going to be in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And then I think, you start talking about quarterbacks in the SEC. I think that to me is one of the more intriguing storylines this year, because you've got a lot of guys who I think could just blow up and be all-America type quarterbacks. And you got guys who are being handed the keys for the first time to an offense. Sometimes new faces like a Jackson Arnold at Auburn. This will be Arch Manning's first time as the starter to start the season. You've got the Tennessee situation. Is it Joey Aguilar? Is Merklinger, can he beat him out? You don't really know. But I really think Lenore Sellers has as much upside as any quarterback in college football. Certainly, if he can become a more consistent, polished passer, he is just an animal to try to get on the ground. But he's 243. He's got great balance. He's got great vision. And I was at that Clemson game last year in the season, and he really. I'm not saying he's Cam Newton because that's not fair, but he's one of the closest types of players at that position in the SEC that I've seen since Cam was at Auburn in 2010, just with this talent. Unbelievable difficult it is to get him on the ground.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch this season for sure. You know, before I ask you a question about the upcoming season, I'm going to ask you, I love this article that you had, college football's most unbreakable records, and I love it, Chris. I mean, you got Oklahoma's 47 straight wins, Barry Sanders averaging 239 yards a game, Florida State, number 3, Florida State, top 5 for 14 consecutive years. And you put it really in context, you like Nick Saban's longest streak was 5. Oklahoma in 1971 averaged 472 yards rushing a game. And I'm going to go down this list here because I'm going to throw one at you when I get done, Chris. Florida's John Reeves, which I think this is great, 9 interceptions in one game. No one will ever break that because they'd be pulled before they got to even close to that record. Yeah. Derek Thomas, right. 27 sacks in 1988. Antonio Perkins from Oklahoma, 3 punt returns for TDs against UCLA, 277 total yards. Marcus Allen, 5 straight 200-yard rushing games in 1981. Number 9, Patrick Mahomes. He had 734 yards passing, 85 yards rushing for a grand total of 819 total yards of offense in one game. Nick Saban, number 10, 100 consecutive wins against unranked opponents at Alabama. Now, I'm going to throw one out at you, Chris. Little old UTC, just down the road from us, Chattanooga, in 1977, prior to Division I subdividing into 1A and 1AA. I don't know if you have heard this before, but they had 2 freshmen, and this is true freshmen running backs. Both of them rushed for 1,000 yards in the same season, 1977. First off, it's the only time 2 freshmen have ever rushed for 1,000 yards, and they were both true freshmen. I don't think that's a record that could be touched, Chris.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things, for me anyway, the fun thing doing a piece like this is all the feedback that I've gotten from just like you about all these accomplishments in college football at all levels that, hey, what about this, what about that? And it just, when I research these stories, I learned so much about the game. And I've been covering college football for, 35 years or more, and then I'll talk to somebody, colleagues, coaches, or do my homework. And so, like, hearing your story about that is pretty cool. I'll tell you another cool story. David Shaw, the former Stanford coach, called me about a week after that story came out. And, David's in the NFL now. And he says, I really enjoyed reading that. He said, but you missed one. And he said, Christian McCaffrey in 2016 at Stanford set the record for most all-purpose yards in a season. You can look it up. It's way up there. And he said, it'll never be broken. And here's why. Because nobody now in this era of football would ever use a player of that caliber to return kickoffs and return punts.
Oh, yeah.
And do all the things he did at Stanford. Of course, he was a really good receiver out of the backfield. And you know what? David's right. And that's why, again, I like doing stories like that because of all the different accomplishments, records, streaks. Now I only went back to 1950, the last 75 years in doing this piece. Because
right.
If you did all the way back, and I had a ton of Tennessee fans text me, email me, reach out to me and say, hey, you forgot the one that will never be broken, and that's General Neyland's regular season in 1939 when they went unbeaten, untied, and unscored upon. That'll never be duplicated. Nobody will ever do that again.
And, of course, if you remember, and then Duke the year before, in 1938, they did the same thing. They also went undefeated, untied, and unscored on. And both Duke and Tennessee lost to USC in the Rose Bowl, which is so ironic. So you had Duke gave up some points. They gave up a touchdown. They lost to USC 7-3. Tennessee lost to USC 14-0. So I know the records back then stopped after the regular season. You didn't include bowl stats, but I think it's so weird that you had USC, the same team, beat an undefeated, untied, and unscored upon Duke and Tennessee in back-to-back years.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to describe, even for me, what bowl games were then. In essence, they were like an exhibition game that was played after the season. And not that teams didn't try. Certainly you tried. It was the Rose Bowl. But it just wasn't viewed as being a part of the season. Heck, even Barry Sanders' magical season in '88, that's computed. His record is computed just in 11 regular season games.
Right.
He went on to have 220-some yards in a Holiday Bowl that year. That's doesn't even count. On his record total.
Just so you guys know, I looked up that Christian McCaffrey record. In 2015, which was his sophomore season, he had 3,864 all-purpose yards.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
And I think he had. You got there in front of me. I guess he had a good number of those yards in both punt and kickoff returns, and he had a bunch receiving. Now you're going to have kids that will have a lot of receiving yards still. They still throw to the backs, But David Shaw is right. Can you imagine, a player, the top running back in college football now being allowed to return kickoffs and punts? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, Chris, we absolutely loved the article. We were sitting here looking at it before the show started. It was a really good piece, and we encourage all of our listeners to go out and read it. One of the questions I have for you, a lot of stuff is going on in Capitol Hill, and honestly, it's really hard as an average fan to kind of follow. Would you mind just highlighting some of the stuff that's going on up there that could change the landscape of what we're dealing with?
Man, we don't have enough time or the next month for me to do that. And I don't know. I can promise you guys probably are as up to speed on it as much as me or anybody else because it changes so much. And, I mean, essentially what we have now is we have a college sports commission that is supposed to be the enforcement arm of what are legitimate NIL deals with collectives. Now, this is over and above the House settlement revenue share model that's in place across college sports where schools can directly pay athletes up to $20.5 million a year. And that figure will go up a little bit every year. And it's up to the school to decide how they want to dole that money out. Most of your SEC, Big Ten top schools will probably spend $14-15 million of that on football and then divvy up the rest. It's going to give more to basketball. But then over and above that, you've still got collectives, donor-based collectives that raise money and put together deals for, let's say, Arch Manning. We want to bring you out to our car dealership every Sunday night, and you're going to sign autographs and take pictures, and you're going to do some advertising for our dealership, and we're going to pay you, $800,000. Well, the College Sports Commission is in place to basically be like a clearinghouse to greenlight those deals. Are these legitimate NIL deals? Or are they simply pay for play, which is what we've all had now for the last few years? It's all been pay for play under the guise of NIL. But see, there's now most of these deals that schools felt like contracts they had done with players are being shot down. So they don't pass the mustard. So, the people who are winning, guys, and all this, and hey, listen, players are going to get paid through the rev share model, okay? They're going to get guys that never got really much of anything are going to get paid, and athletes. But the attorneys, I should have been an attorney. I should have gone to law school.
Exactly.
And they're the ones that are making out like bandits here.
Yeah, getting a good cut.
There are going to be tons of legal cases and court cases and lawsuits going forward. So the long-winded answer to your question is, man, I don't know where it ends up, and I don't think anybody really has a crystal ball how this is all going to play out. More and more administrators and coaches are saying, listen, if we want to be done with all this, ping pong ball bouncing back and forth, meetings, and all this, garbage that has gone on for over the years, let's just go to collective bargaining. Let's do what the NFL does. Let's let the players have representation. They're already employees anyway, and then you negotiate what players are going to make. And everyone's playing with the same cap, the same rules. Everyone's got a little protection. The players have protection. Schools have protection. Guys can't move around as much, and the players, are going to get paid what their worth is. So more and more people. I know Danny White, Tennessee, is a proponent. Tennessee's AD of some type of collective bargaining agreement, and you're starting to hear more and more of that around the college sports scene.
Right. Well, Chris, you basically led me straight into my next question. Once again, we're joined by Chris Lowe, senior writer for ESPN. Yesterday at Big 12 Media Days, we heard Deion Sanders talk about a few different things, one of them being that he wants a salary cap in college athletics. Do you see that being a possible reality? If so, sooner or later?
Yeah, well, no, I think a collective bargaining model that's what it would do is you would have a salary cap, and everybody would sort of be swimming in those same waters. Now, how many schools could do that? I mean, financially, I don't know. I think at some point, I hate to put a timetable on it. At some point, I still think football is going to break off in the other sports.
Right.
And I don't know how many schools, 38, 48, 32, and the ones that can financially do it and are going to do it, then you're going to have another tier of schools. But I just think that's coming, and probably sooner than as opposed to later. It's just like the playoff. For years and years, they said, "Oh, there's not going to be a playoff," and then bam, there's a playoff. And I think that's probably what you're going to see with the payment model college football, because there's so much money that's generated. Football drives a train in college sports, and it always has, it always will. And that's not to say that some schools, in men's basketball, don't make a decent amount of money, but it's football's cash cow, and that's why you've got to get that. College sports has to get that figured out one way or another, or we're just going to sort of sit here and limbo the way you are right now. I hope whatever happens that the Olympic sports, whether it's women's tennis, whether it's women's softball, whether it's men's tennis and soccer, that we don't start to see those sports become club sports at some schools.
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger schools can survive and not have to cut sports, but you're already starting to see, quietly, albeit, some positions cut, staff positions. You're seeing schools have to be creative to raise money. The Tennessee put a 10% talent fee hike on their tickets this year. Other schools are doing things similar to that. But, the $20.5 million that they're paying, schools are paying to athletes now, is money that they've not had to pay before. But now they got to find the money to do that, and that causes you to have to get creative. And I think we're going to continue to sort of see things like that as we go forward. We're just now entering it. We're sort of in the brand new stages of all this. It's probably going to have to evolve a little bit.
All right, Chris, changing gears just a little bit. Now let's talk about on-the-field stuff. Obviously, Tennessee goes from Nico Iamaleava to Joey Aguilar. And my first question to you, is there anything on the field that Aguilar does better than Nico? And then secondly, Jake Retzloff, BYU, withdrew from school today. Is there any chance that he could end up in Knoxville?
Well, I'd say there'll be a lot of schools that have interest in him. And my understanding is that he could just transfer in and be ready to play. Now, wherever he goes, there's not going to be a lot of time for him to get acclimated. It's hard at that position. He's very talented to plug and play. I don't know. Tennessee's got, in their three quarterbacks now, they've probably got about $3 million invested. I think Aguilar is somewhere around 1.5. Merklinger's probably 500,000 or 600,000. I think McIntyre's around $1 million. So I don't know if they'd be willing or could go any higher.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see that there'll be several schools, and I'm not saying necessarily Tennessee would be one of them. Remember, too, they got the Faison kid coming in 2 years, too, and he's one of the top quarterback prospects, high school quarterback prospects, coming into the 2026 class out of North Carolina. So, I would say Tennessee probably would be pretty judicious right now. They did go out and get Aguilar. He's got experience. What does he do better than Nico?
Is there anything? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think you're going to wait and see. He played at Appalachian State for 2 years. He put up good numbers, threw too many interceptions. I think that's the thing. If you want to start looking at warts, he's got to be better at protecting the football. But he also was pretty good at moving around and making plays. Extending the play, making plays with a move. I think that's something that he does well. He is somebody inside the red zone that can hurt you running the football. They threw the ball a lot. It's not like he's going to be a guy that hasn't seen game action or hasn't seen teams try to game plan for him. Now, he did not play in the SEC. It's going to be a different caliber athlete playing against. But that doesn't mean you can look across football now, and over again you're seeing quarterbacks, especially, come from maybe a lower division, moving up and playing well and playing successfully. I know he's hungry. I know he felt like, he went to UCLA to be the star there, to finish his career, in the Big Ten against Big Ten opponents. He bring in Nico, bam, he's out. So he's hungry to prove that he's a big-time player. But I think you talk to the people around Jake Berklinger, who was there last year. He's another one that I think they could have gotten to the portal and didn't, and stayed. And I know he's dead set on competing for that job. Well, we'll see how it all shakes out. I would say that unless Aguilar unless Joey plays poorly, just doesn't really pick up the offense, I would say he's probably the odds-on favorite to be the starter in Game 1.
Talking to Chris Lowe, senior college football writer for ESPN. All right, Chris, if you were a betting man, would you bet the number of teams in the CFP following the 2026 season would be at 12, 14, or 16? If you were a betting man right now, what would be your best guess?
Yeah, well, a month ago I would have said 16. I would bet you a lot of money. It would be 16. But right now I think it's 50-50. I think it could stay at 12. And because you got the two major conferences that are sort of at odds. The Big Ten says, listen, we don't want to expand to 16 and have 11 at-large bids potentially if the SEC is only going to play 8 conference games. We want to see them go to 9. But the SEC says, well, we don't want to play a 9th conference game if there are no guarantees in the playoff selection format that's going to award us for playing an SEC schedule that includes 9 games. So, do they meet in the middle and go to 14? Do they stay at 12? I don't think the SEC's crazy about the 4-4-2-2-2-1 format, which is what the Big Ten wants, which says the Big Ten gets 4 in, the SEC gets 4 in. I think the SEC feels like if you go 5 conference champions automatically in, and then 11 at large, legitimately at large teams, that they're going to get at least 5 teams in every year. And I think that's what they want. Big Ten, though, says, hey, we're playing non-conference games. If we're going to do that, if we're going to 5-11, then we want the SEC to play 9. So, man, they seem to meet just to figure out when they're going to meet again about this playoff format. I think most people around college football are starting to get frustrated.
Right.
Make a decision. Let's figure out what the format is. Let's take the politics out of it. Because the game, no matter all this chaos that we've seen play out, the game on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening, to me, is still as good as it's ever been. I get as excited on Saturday afternoon as I ever did, but I hate all this off the field maneuvering and negotiating and politicking. But I would say that money typically wins out in these situations, and 16 means more money, more dollars and cents than 12. So I got a feeling that they'll figure out a way to meet somewhere in the middle and get it to 16 teams.
once again with Chris Lowe, senior college football writer for ESPN. Chris, I got one last question for you, and I'm going to let Jacob follow up after my question. But if there was one college football team out there right now that you feel like all the writers are kind of sleeping on, what program is that?
Are you talking about nationally or just
nationally? Nationally.
Well, that's a good question.
I'm putting you on the spot with this one because it's a broad spectrum.
I don't want to say Clemson because Clemson's been picked very highly this year. This should be Dabney Sweeney's best team since that run from 2015 to 2020. So I'll go. I think LSU. Honestly, I mean LSU's not a team that you're hearing right there in the top 3 or 4 of the SEC schools, and their game, ironically, to start the season is at Clemson.
That's right. That's a good one, man.
Yeah, the battle of the Death Valley.
Yep.
And I say that for a couple of reasons. I think they did a nice job in the portal in bringing in some people. I always, when I look at teams and how they're going to do, I always look at quarterback experience. They're bringing in a guy who's going to be a starter for multiple years, and that's Myers bringing him back. They went out and got him big-time receivers, Barry Brown from Kentucky, Nick Anderson from Oklahoma. I think they'll be better on defense. They also address that side of the ball. And this is a big year for Brian Kelly. And I'm not saying they're going to fire him. He only wins 8 games. But he knows it. I think that the people around that program, the players, LSU is not a program that should be winning, just 7, 8, 9 games. With 12 teams in the playoff, they should be in the playoff 2 out of every 3 years. It's that type of program with that type of recruiting base.
Yep.
I think they are a team that probably a lot of people might be sleeping on because everybody says, all right, it's Georgia, Texas, Georgia, Alabama's going to be better. And Caleb DeBoer's second year. Tennessee made the playoff last year. South Carolina was red hot season into last year. You just don't seem to hear as much about LSU, and LSU's a team I would watch this year.
All right, Chris, our last question for you, non-football related. Looks like you visited somewhere that you really, really like recently. Got to know, what did you order at Beck's?
Well, I always order. What I've ordered for 50 years, their popcorn shrimp, man, that's the best I've ever had anywhere. And then, of course, you got the appetizers always are she crab soup. So, she crab soup and popcorn shrimp. Yeah, Beck's is great. Same family has owned that for I think 75 years now.
I've never been there.
Well, it looks good. We're definitely going to have to try that out. Where's it located for all of our listeners?
Right. It's just across the border, South Carolina, North Carolina border into Calabash, North Carolina. Excuse me. So if you're at Myrtle Beach or anywhere in the Grand Strand area, you just go due north. Pardon me. Due north on 17, and it'll take you right into Calabash. It's can't miss it. You go early because if not, you're going to have to wait this time of year.
Gosh.
Good deal. Once again, Chris Lowe, senior college football writer for ESPN. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to join the drive today. I know our listeners were excited to have you today, and definitely would love to have you on in the future.
Okay, guys. Well, it's good visiting with you. Hopefully, the next time we'll talk more football.
Yep,
absolutely. That's right. And maybe a little seafood, too.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
No question. See you guys.
See
Bye-bye.
ya.
Yeah, Chris Lowe, talking a little football with him, obviously. Listen, we all want to talk about the games. We do. We get tired of talking about the
lead up.
The other stuff, how many conference games are going to play? Oh, they're going to have 12 or 16 teams in the playoffs. Oh, my gosh, all this other stuff. We want to talk about, I can't believe they threw that interception. What were they doing throwing the ball when they had a for sure thing? I love the second guess. I'm the world's worst Monday morning quarterback, guys.
Little armchair quarterback action here.
I'm like, I can't believe they did that. But we want to talk about the games, do we not?
Yes. And so one reason I asked him about that, his sleeper pick, because
by the way, I don't think LSU's sleeper pick, but that's
and I figured he would probably go the SEC route, but I was kind of expecting him to either go with a Florida, a Vandy, one of those teams, maybe even.
Who's yours?
So looking specifically SEC wise, I'm looking at Florida. The way they finished I know South Carolina went on that run at the end of the year, but I think Billy Napier's got the roster. Now, to the point of Chris a second ago, LSU's roster, everyone knows it's talented.
Oh,
everyone knows it's good.
Yeah.
But I think Florida's a team that kind of got it figured out, and had money not has been as much of an issue down there at Florida as far as coaching contracts, the whole layout of the NIL and the newness of all this. I don't know if he still has his job coming into this year, but Billy Napier, given the extended time, because when you're paying other coaches and all those things factor in, he was given a little bit more grace. I think they figured some things out last year. They weren't blocking each other last year. A little pun intended there.
Yeah.
That's happened before down in Gainesville.
I definitely think that he went from being on a warm seat to like a room temperature seat. Here's why I don't think that they're going to do as much damage. DJ Lagway had injuries. Everybody thought it was his shoulder. Turned out to be I think I saw it was like a hernia or something that was caused by it. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something internal that was really affecting him. He missed spring. He didn't get to do spring ball. He missed a lot of time last year. It's hard running an offense for a first time.
And they got a tough schedule.
Yes, and that was my next thing. Florida's draw with who they have to play, that sucks, dude. I've got some friends that are Florida fans. I don't feel bad for you because I'm not a huge Florida guy, but that's a tough schedule.
All these Gators are saying, "Hey, give me a Texas schedule. Help me out a little bit."
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Honestly, they got a pretty rough draw in year one of year two.
When
of this
Oklahoma
expansion.
got between Texas and Oklahoma, their schedule way more difficult than the Longhorns. Now I'm going to tell y'all. Here's my sleep. You talk about a sleeper pick. To me, a sleeper pick's a team that hasn't been good in football in quite a while. They're just going to sneak up on everyone this year.
Yeah, that's why I said Florida.
Mine is one I know you're not going to like. This one. It's Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
I think Georgia Tech is on the upswing. Listen, I definitely think that Miami and Clemson are the two best teams in the ACC, but do not sleep on this Georgia Tech team. They haven't been relevant in a long time. I think the Yellow Jackets could surprise some people.
It's pretty well known that Georgia, that last game of the year, and really for the past couple years, having to play them.
How many overtimes that thing go?
A lot, more than my heart really
six
wanted
or seven?
to.
It was insane. That was one of the most exciting. Take the playoff out of the whole equation. That was one of the most exciting regular season football games that I've seen in several years.
Well, and the OC for Georgia Tech, what he's able to draw up and the things that he makes you have to cover, he shows you a little bit of everything. And so then when you have to go prepare for him the next week, you're going to start preparing for things, but there's no way you can cover it all. He does such a great job. In my opinion, he's going to be one of the top hires either to get a head coach job in the near future or become one of the top programs like OC. I know Georgia fans after that game were calling for it. They were saying we're tired of, but I'm tired of the Bobo talk. He is a fine offensive coordinator. We're scoring points. We couldn't run the ball last year.
Yeah.
That is not anybody's fault. We dropped passes and couldn't run the ball last year. But I think the Faulkner dude will be a great either OC or head coach one day.
Well, this is also a game that Georgia coming into this year, that's instead of overlooking it on the calendar, it's circled on the calendar.
Absolutely.
Because of last year's game. And that's something where Georgia has dominated that series over the past 20 years. And when you have that approach as a program, as a team, that it's not going to happen again. So Georgia's got the more talented roster, but that game was exciting. National-wise, I kind of mentioned this before we went on air today. I think Rich Rodriguez, maybe not necessarily this year, but West Virginia playing in the Big 12, he's back home in the mountains of West Virginia. He's going to have the Mountaineers ready to go. I'm excited to see how that story unfolds.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
With that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got some Major League Baseball stuff we're going to talk about, and also a little bit of NFL news with the Washington Commanders releasing a new uniform.
Oh, I love it, too.
Pretty cool throwback. And then Kirk Cousins news out of Atlanta felt a little bit misled. We're going to talk about that all when we come back.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees. For a quarter of a century, Mix 104.1 has been taking you out to the ball game.
Swanson to first. The Braves.
Since 2000, Mix 104.1 has been the home of the Atlanta Braves, and we're celebrating by giving away tickets to Atlanta Braves games all summer long. Listen for your chance to call or text to qualify. You can also register at the Mix socials on Facebook and Instagram. Braves 25 is presented by Cleveland Ford. Honest people, honest deals.
Hip or knee pain holding you back? There's a new reason to feel hopeful. Dr. Andrew Carlone is now part of the team at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics in Cleveland. He brings advanced training in total hip and knee replacement, including minimally invasive techniques that get you back on your feet faster. Let Cleveland's orthopedic experts help you live your best life. Call 423-624-2696 or go to sportmed.com to book your visit now.
What if a friend or a loved one was thinking about suicide? What would you say? What would you do? The Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network provides support. TSPN teaches how to spot warning signs of suicide, and we teach you how to do something. Go to tnprevention.org to learn how you can help with suicide prevention efforts. That's tnprevention.org, a public service announcement of the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network and this station.
When you need a new roof, it's all about trust. Your home is too big an investment and you can't afford to make a mistake. Cleveland Plywood has the products and expertise you're looking for. Contractors have trusted them for over 50 years, and they carry only proven products from reputable suppliers like IKO. IKO Cambridge is one of the heaviest weight asphalt shingles you can buy, and their limited warranties are among the industry's best. Protect the investment you've made in your home. Go with the pros at Cleveland Plywood, 2700 20th Street Northeast in Cleveland. Call 472-3357.
Define your tomorrow at Cleveland State Community College. Voted the #1 college in your county, Cleveland State has something for everyone: in-person, online, and hybrid classes. You can take your classes when, where, and how you want. Choose the option that's right for you. Apply now. To find out more about the programs Cleveland State has to offer, go to registration.clevelandstate.cc or call 423-473-2321. Fall semester is just around the corner, so don't wait. Define your tomorrow at Cleveland State.
At First Horizon, we know if there's a win, there's a way. Our team is here to help every step of the way with personal, business, or private banking. Stop by and visit us at one of our locations in Cleveland or give us a call at 423-559-7660. At First Horizon, we look forward to finding a way.
Is a 401k all you need to prepare for retirement? There is much more to retirement beyond single investments. Comprehensive financial planning is what we offer here at Alon Planning Partners. 423-315-1441 or visit alonplanning.com. That's ALLON planning.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
Welcome back to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland 1013. For over 100 years, Mayfield Dairy has been delivering farm fresh dairy beloved by Southern families. In 1983, Mayfield introduced its iconic yellow jug. The new yellow jug helps block harmful light rays, protecting the flavor and nutrients in the milk. Learn more about Mayfield today at mayfielddairy.com.
Hey, also, the exclusive home of ESPN Radio in Cleveland and Chattanooga is ESPN Cleveland 101.3. It's never been easier to listen. Download the free ESPN Cleveland 101.3 app from our website. Just go to ESPNCleveland1013.com and you can download it from right there.
And so going back to my Mayfield, first of all, Mayfield Dairy sponsors all of our Atlanta Braves coverage here on The Drive on ESPN Cleveland. But so I'm driving down the interstate today, and I get behind a Mayfield Dairy semi-truck hauling a bunch of those golden jugs. Right. And they've got some phenomenal artwork, and I'm being dead serious. And I hope that our listeners get a chance to check out these semi-trucks. So much so that I took a picture of it. The artwork that's depicted on the back of the semi-truck is a cow peek. It looks like one of the doors is open.
That's hilarious.
Is that not a great?
That is
Whoever thought of that?
hilarious,
First of all, brilliant right there, Mayfield Dairy for that. But the image that's posted onto the back doors, it makes it look like one of the doors is open, and you see all the crates full of the golden jugs, and there's a cow poking its head around onto the other door.
That's hilarious.
And it's so I took a picture of it and I showed my daughters, and my youngest daughter said, "How did that cow get in there? It looks so real, like when you're looking at a photograph of it."
Love it.
But I wanted to share that. We talk about fun stuff. This is a fun show, right?
Yep.
Can't have fun here.
We can absolutely
That's
have
right.
fun here, man.
Hey, so speaking of not having fun, Kirk Cousins felt misled after the Atlanta Falcons drafted Michael Penix Jr. He's kind of opened up about it, and that's one thing. Like, Kirk Cousins is a stand-up guy, proud to cover Atlanta Falcons here on ESPN Cleveland. But Kirk Cousins is a guy that I think we all kind of felt like when they drafted Michael Penix, it's like, whoa, what are they doing? They just threw all this money at Kirk Cousins. And he's opened up about it. Obviously, missed some time before mandatory minicamp, but showed up when he needed to. Wasn't, didn't try to renegotiate or demand a trade. He's not that kind of guy, which, I have a lot of respect for Kirk Cousins because of that. And he even said, like, his relationship with Michael Penix, like, they're teammates and they're there to do a job. He said it was hard for him to show up, knowing he's going to be sitting on the bench, that it was frustrating. And that's something we talked about a lot on the show. At the end of last season, Michael Penix kind of got the nod over him, and come to find out, Kirk Cousins was dealing with a shoulder issue, took a pretty severe hit, I believe it was in a game against the Saints, and tried to play through it because he didn't want to lose his job. And he kind of talked about one thing that he had heard from Tom Brady years ago is like, Tom Brady did it to Drew Bledsoe. Like, sometimes you think you'll be right back and you never get another opportunity. We saw it. That's how Lou Gehrig got his start.
Yeah, that's right.
Wally Pipp, right?
Wally Pipp. And here's the thing. When Brett Favre was quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, they drafted Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had to sit. Brett Favre was not happy, okay? When, then Brett Favre moves on, and Aaron Rodgers, he's the quarterback there for a long, long time, and then they draft Love. So I've always heard this. The best time to draft a quarterback is not when you need a quarterback, is when you want a quarterback. There's a difference between you already got your guy, but look 2-3 years down the road, you're not desperate. That's when and that's what the Atlanta Falcons did. They had their guy. They thought, let's go ahead and get this Penix guy. Maybe he'll turn out to be something. If he doesn't, we've got time to draft someone else down the road. So I'm okay with the Falcons doing that. It's not up for debate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know a lot of Falcons fans were upset about him playing through injury, thinking, like, that's not what's best for the team. But at the end of the day, like, this is this dude's career.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that he's kind of on the back end. That's why he signed the contract that he signed.
He said he wouldn't have left Minnesota had he known this was the angle of the organization.
Yeah.
He could have made about the same amount of money and competed for a job just like he's having to do in Atlanta, but staying at home.
So I'm not going to get mad at a guy for making a business decision. Like, he knew that somebody's sitting behind him that wants his job. I'm going to do my best to perform at my best to win, and he just didn't.
We don't know the Vikings would not have drafted J.J. McCarthy if he was still up there. We don't know that. They might have drafted him anyway, even though he got hurt and he didn't get to play
Well, apparently that was part of the reason why he left Minnesota, because he knew that they were open with him, told him this is the route we're going to go. You could compete for a job.
You're in the NFL.
Nothing's guaranteed.
You're not guaranteed tomorrow because you might get hurt. So you bet a good organization is always going to have a backup plan.
One thing that is guaranteed, the Washington Commanders release a Super Bowl era, is what they're calling it, in quotation, Super Bowl era. I'm going to call it what it is. It's a Redskins throwback uniform.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Minus the Redskin logo on the helmet. So I kind of went on some fan pages of the Washington Commanders, and a lot of people are like, why won't you just call them the Redskins throw? And they're not going to do it.
No, they're not.
But the fan base there loves the look, and talk about a classic uniform. It's a good look. But
Burgundy and old.
Oh, yeah.
Old, man.
Yeah, it looks great. And they're going to use those this season up there in Washington, so the fans are excited. They said at least one game.
Well, they should be the primary uniform,
yeah,
if you ask me.
And they're calling them the Super Bowl era because that's what they wore when they won their Super Bowl. But, again.
Listen, I've said this to Jacob here. There are certain teams that have perfect uniforms. Why do you ever change? It's like the Raiders. their uniforms look the same today as they did in 1972. There's no reason to screw around with perfection.
Yeah.
And that's what the Redskins / Commanders did. They had perfect looking uniforms, and they renamed the team, they rebranded them, and the uniforms were hideous.
Yeah.
They've gone back to where they look really good again.
Yeah, I agree. Those are ones that you just don't touch, and but hey, they're back.
Yeah. So speaking of being back, the Braves will be back in action tonight. Luckily, we're out of Sacramento. Apparently, the last place A's gave us a little bit too much than we could handle. Last night, the Braves lost the series out there in Sacramento. 5-4, Spencer Strider, solid game for him. Bullpen, Dylan Lee, a rare home run to tie the game, and Aaron Bummer giving up the game-winning hit with that ghost runner. The guy that just to lose a game that way with a ghost runner is frustrating.
Did you stay
to me.
And watch it?
I did. Unfortunately,
of course you did.
Unfortunately, again, offense started off strong, slowed down, and couldn't manufacture runs late. That's the story of last night's game. But tonight, Braves back in action out in St. Louis. Last series before the All-Star break, and hopefully they can get something figured out. First pitch, 8:15. Grant Holmes on the mound. And you can listen to that on Mix 104.1 pre- and post-game coverage. Also here on ESPN Cleveland, presented by Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. So, hey, another big week, another fun week, because this is a fun show.
It has. And we got Rich Mazingo with us on Monday, by the way.
Rich Mazingo Monday. Mazingo Monday. Let's call it Mazingo Monday.
That's right. They got Thursday there at the ballpark. We got Mazingo Monday. So anyway.
Yeah, hey, real quick before we go, we got a giveaway right in front of me. Almost skipped it. Speaking of the Lookouts, we've got some tickets for the Lookouts versus Rocket City Trash Pandas for the this might. Yeah, okay, we're good. This is today. This is for tomorrow's game, just making sure that we're right. Or actually Sunday's game, July 13th. All you got to do is text 423-749-1013 with your name and Lookouts for the game Sunday against the Rocket City Trash Pandas. 4 tickets, your name and Lookouts to 423-749-1013.
You got to love those 7-game series they have in the minors.
I tell you what, it's been a long week, too. I butchered that up. But appreciate everybody listening on all the platforms. Have a great weekend, everybody.
It's time for a Don Ledford of Cleveland traffic update on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Don Ledford Chevrolet Buick GMC, located on North Lee Highway in Cleveland. Or visit donledford.com for details. Don Ledford, where we say yes. It's on-time traffic with Commander Chuck.
Good afternoon. It's still a bit heavy over here, 75 up by East Brainerd Road, just trying to get through this road construction. This could even give you some problems over the weekend over here on this side of town in the construction there up by East Brainerd as it builds more traffic northbound 75 over White Oak Mountain, traveling up through Bradley County. This afternoon, watch for radar. Blackstone Grill, Chattanooga's new restaurant. Now open 3018 Cummings Highway in Lookout Valley. The food, it's wonderful. Blackstone Grill. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
From the Alon Planning Partners Weather Center, here's your forecast on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Visit them online at alonplanning.com or give them a call at 423-315-1441.
It's going to be a hot day today with temperatures climbing back into the low 90s. The heat index will be as high as 95 degrees, and there will be the chance for pop-up showers and storms this afternoon and evening, favoring the higher elevations. Tonight will be partly cloudy with overnight lows in the 70s, and this weekend, highs in the 90s with daily storm chances Saturday and Sunday. For the latest, download the Local 3 weather app. I'm Storm Alert meteorologist Clay Smith.
Your current Milligan Vane temperature is 87 degrees. MilliganVane.com.
This is John Davis, the trade-in man for Kia of Cleveland, and I need your help. We're under construction, and I've got cars everywhere. I've got them in the grass, down the street. We need to get these cars where they belong, in your driveway. So we're rolling them out of here at whatever price it takes. Bring us any trade in any condition, and we will give you $7,000 more than Kelley Blue Book fair value toward the purchase of any new Kia, Telluride, Sorrento, or Sportage. Yes, $7,000 more than your trade is worth. Are you a credit challenged car buyer? That's okay. At Kia Cleveland, our lenders will say yes to you and yes to your situation situation. Remember, I'll be any deal from anywhere in Georgia, Tennessee, or Alabama. So if you want $7,000 more than your trade is worth, come see me, John Davis, at Kia Cleveland on South Lee Highway in beautiful Cleveland, Tennessee, where trading your car is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Looking for the dealer who's gonna give you more. Kia of Cleveland Superstore.
Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
KiaofCleveland.com.
When you're craving serious burger goodness, head to Hardees for the all-new barbecued pulled pork Frisco burger. A charbroiled, quarter-pound, 100% Angus beef patty, topped with 16 hours slow-smoked barbecued pulled pork on toasted sourdough. Only for a limited time at Hardees. Get a free pulled pork Frisco burger when you download the app and join My Rewards. See app for terms.
Mix 1041 and Honda of Cleveland are teaming up to give one deserving teacher in our local area the chance to win a 2025 Honda Civic LX. Nominate your favorite teacher at mymix1041.com or on the Mix 1041 app.
From the Kia of Cleveland studios, this is ESPN Cleveland 1013, WCLE HD2 Cleveland, W267BI Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland 1013.
The top of the hour is presented by Best Buy Metals, making the top of your house the best it can be. Visit bestbuymetalroofing.com.
And we've been talking about that middle of the pack. Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast joining us here on the Paul Feinbaum Show. I'm Cole Kubick filling in for Paul today. That it is deep. And I don't know how many teams I would place sort of at the top on that top podium, that the pecking order that has separated itself from everyone else. Texas, most people are going to have there. Bama, Georgia, a lot of people are going to have there. LSU is going to be there for some people. How many teams would you have, Mike, that are maybe different above and beyond the rest of the pack right now in the SEC?
You're saying just at the top? I mean, to me, I like Bama. I like Bama to win the SEC, and I've been on this program. Paul said, well, that means that's my pick to win it all. And I said, sure. I mean, I think Bama could be that good. I think their roster is as good as anybody. And I've been told Kalen DeBoer is the elite coach, so we need to see it. But all the pieces are there, I think, for Alabama to have, another banner year.
Well, here's the question I'm interested to hear from you, because this is where you definitely don't shy away. We've talked about all the good parts of Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, Auburn, Oklahoma. Who's going backwards this year? Because it doesn't feel like Vanderbilt's going backwards. You got maybe the biggest problem tight end in the league. You've made some nice additions to your offensive line. Cedric Alexander is by far the most underrated running back in the league. Y'all need to know his name right now. That kid's only had 20 carries in a game once. I promise you he's going to make a name for himself this year. Clark's got his hands on the defense now. Most of that group is back. They're not. Who's going backwards, Mike?
I think the one team that I'm almost assured will go take a step back is Ole Miss. Just given all that they've lost, and they're essentially dead last in returning production on both sides of the ball. I know they always attack the transfer portal. I got a lot of faith in Lane Kiffin, but and again, I'm saying maybe 8-4. That's a step back for them. They're usually winning a lot higher clip than that. And I'll tell you, Cole, I think everybody is kind of on board at this point with Oklahoma and Florida being teams to watch. But both of those, I mean, you could convince me that things go sideways quickly at one or both of those spots. Again, I'm a believer in Oklahoma. I'm a believer in Florida. But I'm not even sold that both those head coaches are there by the end of the year either. So, I mean, I think both of those could go one way or another.
Where do you see the coaching change aspect going? This is something I haven't heard a lot of people discuss, Mike, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it, because you have probably taken the throne from Paul of the individual that talks about coaches getting fired more than anybody else around this league. So congratulations to you on that. Where's the coaching turnover philosophy going to go with revenue sharing, where the new NIL aspects are going to go? We're already seeing like Michigan's making cuts in their football department, other people making cuts in their athletic departments. Are coaches going to get fired sooner because teams might not be able to afford buyouts? Are coaches going to be safer? Where's that aspect of college football going to go?
Yeah, and to prove your first point, I said Bama's my pick, right, to win the conference. If they don't make the 12-team playoff, I would fire Kalen DeBoer because he's been there 2 years, not even making the playoff. I don't care how well the program's recruiting. The next coach will recruit just as well. But where are things going? I mean, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Because I still can't believe that some of these coaches are still employed, like a Mark Stoops. I don't know how he still got that job. Well, in fact, I do know it's because of the buyout. Billy Napier, probably the same thing. Brent Venables, I think Brent Venables may be the best defensive coordinator in the country. I don't know if he's a qualified Southeastern Conference head coach, but again, where they're putting their money elsewhere to help those coaches, and I think you almost have to do that. I think you have to be flexible, and I think it's far more important to have the players than it is to have some coach that you think is elite